That's better.
All right. Should we take it easy and start with the virgin cocktail?
No.
Okay.
No hesitation.
That is never a good idea.
Maleko and I have been dealing with the coronavirus all morning. We need to
Oh my.
All right.
ramp it up.
Okay, folks, here we go in 3, 2. Hello. Welcome to the Maleko and Flash podcast for this Wednesday, March 11th. I'm Maleko.
I'm Flash.
And today we are bringing back one of our favorite special guests. She was the 2018 Republican gubernatorial candidate for Hawaii. She was formerly in the Hawaii House of Representatives representing District 43. And she was first elected into the House of Representatives in 2014 in her very first run for office. She was re-elected in 2016. Following the re-election, she made her history by becoming the first Samoan woman to serve as the House Minority Leader. Please welcome Andria Tupola.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me.
And thanks for coming back.
I know.
I can't believe after that experience you decided it was a good idea to come back.
I used to think Andrea was smart, but she's not as smart as I thought she was.
Oh my
Because here she is again.
Maybe she just likes punishment. She likes being around idiots. Makes her feel smarter. It's good.
Thank you for having me.
That's
Hey, well, joining us, we've also got our bartender today, Flash. Who is our bartender for this afternoon?
our bartender today, Andrew from Shorefire,
Woo-hoo!
actually sent me a bio. It's the first time we have a bio from a bartender. He's actually originally from Moscow,
Oh, okay.
Russia.
Wow.
Yes.
All hail Putin.
Or not. Don't.
Too soon.
Can you hook me up with some extra likes on my Instagram?
Oh, yeah. We can do that.
perfect.
That's easy. That's
Good.
easy.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
so
what I-
Andrew bartends at Shorefire International Marketplace. He's the bar manager down there. Now, interestingly enough, side note for Andrew, he's actually working on an illustrated cocktail book with recipes used by actual bartenders behind the bar.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah, and it obviously is going to include some personal recipes of his and all that sort of thing. And also, fun fact, like I would say almost every bartender that we have on the show, he does not want to be called a mixologist. Just like any true bartender, he just wants to be called a bartender. It's Andrew from Shorefire, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
Woo!
Great to be here.
Yep.
Great to be here.
Right on. Well, thanks for joining us, and thank you for being here. Now, remember, from last episode, Andrea, you do not drink alcohol,
No, I don't.
so that's okay.
Good for you.
It's more for
Good
us.
for you.
Thank you.
Good for that's
Andrew, shut up.
Judgmental bartender over there. But that means more alcohol for us. Now, Andrew, you're going to be making a little bit of both, right? You got some virgin cocktails for us today.
And I have the virgins for us as well, so we can, enjoy for once, not being under influence at this time.
Because I
during the
drink
day.
alcohol for the flavor. Who wants the kick, right?
That was Maleko's happy face.
No, we got a little bit of everything today. We got one virgin, nice and sweet, a little bit of soda
Oh,
on
boy,
top,
Andrew,
so it's
careful with
not
your
too
words
much
there,
sugar
buddy.
comes out. And then we have the more heavy ones coming shortly thereafter.
Fantastic.
It'll be fun.
I appreciate it. Why don't you get started on that, Andrew?
Sure.
And while you're doing that, Andrea, we just want to start with a softball question for you here
All
today.
right.
What do you think, or how do you think the governor is handling the coronavirus issue so far?
Ooh.
Well,
Just going to start with a light question for you there.
he says a softball. All right. Well, we've had so many emergency situations since he's been governor. We're at
Missile alert! Hold on!
Oh, sorry. Who said that?
Wait, what?
Where's the button?
37 minutes. Okay, so we've had all of these crises, all these emergencies, Mauna Kea, the missile alert, and now we have coronavirus. And I think just one press conference after another, the people just shake their head like, how in the world is this guy running the state of Hawaii? And so I think it's been difficult. I've watched a lot of them, knowing that we're in the 21st century. There's a lot of things we could use, like maybe a diagram or a PowerPoint or something listing out what we know, what we don't know, but we still have these really vague, blasé conferences where we leave thinking, wait, what happened? Are we safe? Are we not safe? And everything is, oh no, we're okay. Are we going to cancel cruise ships? No, we're not going to do that. Are we going to double check the people at the harbor? Well, we don't see any need to do that. I don't think it helps the people of Hawaii feel safe knowing that the leader of our state isn't taking this very seriously. But hey, we weren't surprised. It's the same MO that we had for the past couple emergencies.
Well, he's made a lot of press conferences, but at the same time, I agree with you. We feel at the end of it, it's like, I don't think that I got all my questions answered. I'm not entirely sure that I feel safer now than I did at the beginning of that press conference. And case in point, this past week, when the second coronavirus case was announced in the state, at that point, people started to think, okay, what are we going to do to prevent future outbreaks? And I don't think there was really a definitive answer given.
No. There wasn't.
No. And
So-
I don't think there is now.
No, and the head of the Department of Health was there. They have the head of, I
Who
guess,
is not a doctor, by the way, which I might just throw that out there. He's the head of the Department of Health, and am I wrong? He's not a doctor, right?
No.
Well, I mean, look at Mike Pence, in charge of the
Well,
coronavirus.
that's the vice
on a
president.
But
I mean,
that's on a federal level.
I mean, I'm just talking about the Department of Health.
Totally.
I would have expected that person would be a
100%.
physician, and he's not. Not to say that I'm not discrediting the guy at all. I mean, maybe he's doing a good job. I'm not an expert in that field, but as a layman, I would have expected that he at least be a physician.
Well, and typically, so I've done a million press conferences. Typically, when you do a press conference, you want people knowledgeable up in the front answering the questions. So,
Yeah.
could you have called Kaiser where the patient was treated? Yep, you could have.
Yeah.
Could you have asked them to participate? Sure, you could have.
Sure.
When the cruise ship came in, could you have called the CEO of that company and said, hey, we want them to ask you questions because you know the most? Could you have done that?
Okay.
Because that's what happened. There was a lot of questions that came to either the governor or the Department of Health that were specific to either the hospital or
Yep.
the cruise ship, and those people weren't there to answer those questions.
Let me interject, though, for a second. Oh, Andrew's getting wild over there. Now, as someone in marketing or PR, maybe they were asked, and the person like me at Kaiser says, we absolutely don't want you going out there because we don't want that negative brand association,
Okay, just
right?
stop for a second. If you're the governor of the state of Hawaii and you ask the head of a business in the state of Hawaii, you show up because the governor asked. That should be, and the governor should say, this is really an option. We need you to
I'm
be
not saying
there.
that's the right thing to do, but I'm saying that there's the financial repercussions that are a
I
very real
understand that,
portion
but
of
like
that.
if it's different, if KITV calls you, and this has happened a few times, KITV has called Kaiser and Queens and all of the hospitals in town to get somebody to come on the show. Kaiser has repeatedly refused our request to appear, but that we're a news organization, and I understand saying something to us could easily make you liable for something you didn't want to be liable for. But when the governor says, I want you to answer for what's happening at your business,
Yep.
I don't think you have a choice.
Oh, no, and if you're the governor, you say, by the way, I called this place and this place and this place. They turned us down for the press
Exactly.
conference.
That's a good point. Yeah.
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 So right now we're in a state, in this state, where we've got two cases. The World Health Organization has just announced that this is a pandemic, something I think they were late to the party on. I mean, news organizations were already identifying it as a pandemic, just based on the CDC's own definition of pandemic, or the World Health Organization's definition of a
Let's
pandemic.
talk about that for the people listening, and also myself.
Well,
Isn't that when it goes between two countries, then it becomes a pandemic?
I don't have the specific definition in front of me, and I'd hate to summarize it, but there are specific criteria, and they're very black and white. When this
in Washington state where the majority of the cases have happened, have we heard from our state, we will now not be accepting flights from Washington state? No, we haven't heard that. And we know already that it's spreading throughout that state specifically. And wait, hold on. It's in our country. So that's not in another country. That's
Right.
in our country.
Right, and so we're at a point now where we got to we were trying to do containment. We were trying to keep it outside of our country. That failed. Then we were trying to keep it within certain pockets where it was being spread. That failed. So now we've got countrywide spread. We've got community spread. So we're in mitigation mode. And so what they're saying now is we want to limit public contact. What is it? Public distancing or social distancing. That's the key
Well,
word.
and one
that
of the
they're using.
questions somebody asked was, with the cruise ships, like, would you please test people in the harbor area for multiple cruise ships coming through? They said, we don't see the need to do that. What if you just offered to people, hey, if you guys are feeling really sick, do you guys want to get tested? I just feel like there's no in between. It's just, oh, we don't see the need. Oh, the CDC told us we don't need to do that.
Right.
Can't we take any precautions that we think, you know what, raise your hand if you were in the dock area, you'd like to get tested, you're feeling That would make everybody feel better instead of just, hey, we're going to wait till we're instructed from people who aren't from Hawaii to tell us what to do here.
Exactly.
Is there, again, the financial component of, we don't want to kill tourism, so let's purposely not test people because then we have to be reporting the positive results when we know that they're coming down the pike?
Well, they did mention that in regards to tourism, that they didn't want to scare people. But I would say that there could be an opposite effect by offering this, availability to test yourself. It could be the opposite of, hey, I feel safer now because I went in, I got tested, I've been at the dock, I worked during that shift that happened. I feel great now. Like, I know that I don't have it. It could be the opposite effect.
It could be the opposite effect.
Andrew, hold on before you drink that. I just want to make sure hers for sure doesn't have alcohol in it, right?
None of ours has alcohol.
These are all virgin drinks right now?
These are all the first virgin drinks.
All right, Andrew, what did you make us?
This is a desert pear.
You suck, Andrew, but that's fine.
Don't worry. It'll come up. It's a desert pear lemonade. So,
Desert pear lemonade.
Yes, desert pear syrup with lemonade topped with soda.
Ooh,
What
it's
is desert
good.
pear syrup? What is it? What is that?
It's a pear. It's a pear mixed with dark cherries.
That is very
I like
tasty.
that.
Yeah, so I
Maleko,
more,
if only there was some way that we could, make this taste a little better. What's
yeah.
that thing called, Maleko?
Alcohol?
Vodka.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah. If only there was a device.
yeah.
If only. If only we could find it.
So now we got our cocktails in our hand. Andrea, you get to choose what the word of the day is. You remember how this works. It's something we're going to say a lot today. And every time we say it, we're going to make some noise. We're going to drink.
Ooh, sheesh, Andrew, they're putting me on the spot here. I think we should go with something Russian. What do you think?
Ooh.
Well, no, Russian words you're not going to say by accident. It has to be like and.
Okay, well,
No.
that might be too. That might be too much.
Too
Or
much
but.
celebration.
Too much celebration.
Too much celebration.
Andrew, we don't want to black out.
Okay, I mean we can go for Corona.
We could,
Oh, now we're really going to black out.
wow, that's again probably too much.
Okay, all right.
How would you say the coronavirus in Russian?
Is there?
Coronavirus.
Corona.
Just like that.
Thanks, Andrew.
Coronavirus.
Thanks. Are you really from Russia? You're just making stuff up over here.
It's not,
Le
it's not a
Corona.
translation
Just- yeah,
for the
that's-
disease.
Okay, how about this?
I got it. Governor.
Yeah!
Yo!
There we go.
I knew she was going to say that. I knew it. All right, so every time you hear the word governor, where's my bell?
Where is the bell?
Where's my bell? There you go. Every time you hear the word governor today, you're going to make some noise. Governor!
Yes. Drink up.
And have a sip. Thank you. Oh, Andrew, this is delicious. Thank you so
Coronavirus.
much for starting us
Enjoy.
off.
It's
with that.
actually really, really good.
That is beautiful.
Enjoy it.
So, do you still have connections in government? You must. I mean, what's really going on? You got any insight you can give us right now?
Ooh, is everyone ready for what's really going on?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Top secret. Spill it.
Well, I think, there's always this frustration within the state house because there's factions, right? Everyone knows there's a Democrat faction, Republican faction, but when you only have
There's only like 4 Republicans, though.
okay,
So.
it's actually
So that's
it's
more like a
actually
lunch date.
5.
It's more like a knitting group.
It's not really a faction.
It's 5, and there's 1 in the Senate. But going to your point, what I was trying to say is there's more factions on the Democrat side.
Right.
And so what people really want is to get control, figure out how to move things through, whether it's bills or money, or in this case, how do we get someone more effective at the top? Trust me, everyone wants to know that. Democrats, Republicans, unions, everybody. What's wrong with the state and how do we get these people out? Guys, it's just like 2 people. There really is just 2 people that run the show at the State House.
Are the people in the Senate, do they have the same frustrations that we do with the lack of knowledge about what is really going on with the coronavirus and what is our plan of attack here? What's the action plan for the state?
Oh, yeah. I think there's been always this frustration, even when they had all of this stuff that happened with the eruption of the volcano, because here we have the head of the state, but I don't know if you guys know, but the majority of people who hold office right now campaign against the governor. And so when he gets up in front, nobody's like, yes, let's get his back. They're like, man, this guy. And I feel bad because all those factions are what affects us, because all we want to know as the public is our government getting our best interest? Do they have our best interests at heart? And we don't know because of infighting that's unnecessary. I feel like at the end of the day, you're a public official to help the public, not your own agenda, not yourself. Put your feelings aside, put your ego aside, and do what's right for the people. But it's very, very hard.
Now more than ever, specifically with this issue, that needs to be happening.
Just stop the infighting. Hey, let's all get on the same page. We have 51 representatives and 26 senators. What if we had all 76 of them going out and helping to spread information that's accurate? We had things that they were giving out to their community. They were holding town halls so that people could have their questions answered. what kind of state would we live in? Oh, but we don't, because nobody holds town halls, because
Right.
it's not, it's
It's
not
happening now, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few people who started to stand out in this crisis. One person who's emerged as a leader is the lieutenant governor. I think that, and I don't know, I mean, I'll ask you what you think of him, but I think from where I stand, he has come out, even before the governor gave him his appointment as the coronavirus czar, he was already, as a physician, saying, here's what's going to happen, and
He's an
here's what we
actual
need to
doctor.
do.
Right.
And he was actually giving some really good insight where there was lack of leadership at the top of our state government. And now, that being said, I'll let you tell me what you think is really happening.
Well, I think that, knowing that he has that background, of course, I would think as a leader in the state government, you should go to the front. You should say, hey, I have information and I know how to dissect things in a way that maybe you guys don't. I want to help. So I think that's good. But I also think to myself, wait, he suggested that we stop cruise ships. He suggested that we do all these proactive measures to protect ourselves. And how many of those things have been enacted? None. So my question is, why do we need a lieutenant governor, not him specifically, but why do we have these positions where people are leading and then nothing they say actually happens?
Why isn't the governor taking the advice of his lieutenant governor?
The guy he assigned to make all the
Right.
decisions and be the
It's
point
like
person.
he said, you tell me what to do.
He won't do it.
And he's saying, here's what we need to do, but the governor's not doing it.
No, he won't do it.
Why do you think the governor doesn't want to block cruise ships?
I mean, I'm guessing he's getting insight from his cabinet, his people. Hey, if we do this, we might have a recession in Hawaii.
We already have a recession coming in Hawaii.
Everything
That already came out yesterday.
The
Yeah.
financial concerns.
Yeah,
It's
the
going to
U-
happen one way or the other.
You
So you
hear
might
all-
as well kill
already
fewer
predicted.
people.
You
Well-
hear already predicted that we were going to have loss of thousands of jobs in Hawaii. We're going to have a 10%. Some people said it could be as much as 20 to 30% reduction in our revenues for the state. That's massive.
Well, and as we've seen in multiple press conferences, it's more like he's a talking head, right? So he's reading through binders, trying to get information. So those kind of decisions are made by somebody who's a leader, who says, hey, our state's going in a direction that may not be financially sustainable. We better X, Y, Z, instead of hanging back thinking, oh, you're not going to suffer. Generations come. I mean, we have lots of things where it can just roll words. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do.
Okay, let me just paint a picture here. Today is Wednesday, March 11th. So far in the state, we have 2 positive cases. We've had 24, or is it 54 negative tests? I have to look at it again. But less than 100 people have been tested. And there's about 50 or so people that are self-quarantining at home. At this point, we don't really have a documented issue of coronavirus. However, if the math follows the same pattern that it has everywhere else this virus has spread, if you look at Italy, if you look at South Korea, if you look at China, if you look at Washington, when they reported their first cases, 1 week later, they had 10 times as many cases. And then a week after that, they had 10 times as many as that. So here we are, 3 days into this thing, having tested just a handful of people. Assuming we ever get our testing up and running and we start testing more people, we should expect to see tenfold the amount of patients week after week after week. We could be looking at, a collapsing health system here within a month.
Right, right. And it's unfortunate because I feel like proactiveness is not the MO of our government. So us thinking ahead of, okay, the recession's coming, it's going to double or triple in cases, we better prepare. I wish that was the mindset of people that are in charge. I had people text me this morning like, I don't know if I'm going to live here. I don't know if we should stay. I don't feel safe when I watch the Department of Health not handle this crisis correctly. But where else would you go, though? Because now it's spreading all over. Is there a country that's safer than this? I don't know. Is there a state that's going to have less cases than ours? Who knows? So I feel like, right here in Hawaii, taking the precautions we need to in our home with our families and our community, that's what we can do. Do what you can do now.
With the way things are going now, with the way the leadership has directed this crisis so far, do you foresee this getting worse before it gets better?
Yes.
How bad? Do you think we'll have social distancing where everything gets canceled?
Well, I think large functions, when they had the first case where he came off the cruise ship and, of course, he tested negative, they said, will we be canceling Mary Monarch?
Right.
And they said, no, No, we're
Still
not.
going.
Yeah, they said we're not going to discourage any large events get canceled. But now we've had, since he came back on Saturday, the guy who went to Washington came home, I believe he landed on March 4th. He got tested on March 7th, and then he was positive.
Right.
Okay, so since then, what is today, the 11th?
It's the 11th.
Have we heard
4 days later, 5 days later.
Have we heard that?
They haven't even mentioned the word Merry Monarch yet.
I'm just saying, we have large events in our state that, did they give any directive like, hey guys, we just had a positive case, let's take some precaution? No.
No, in fact, the cancellations that we've seen have come directly from the promoters in an abundance of caution. So you take the St. Patrick's Day block party, all right? Thousands of revelers in very close proximity in downtown. Nobody told Murphy's to cancel that. They just looked at the situation and they said, you know what? We want to keep people safe. Let's cancel it. There were concerts that were coming, several concerts. Mariah Carey concert. You know, thousands of people, sold out concert already, canceled. Not because the governor said we shouldn't do that, but because the promoter said we want to be safe. And then now today with the NCAA games and with the sporting games at UH, we're looking at a situation where the people who run these things are personally making decisions that really they should be getting directive from somewhere else.
I think so. And I think as far as the state's concerned, knowing that so many people interact with Hawaii, whether through cruise ships, whether through tourism, if we set a precedence and said, hey, this is what Hawaii is expecting, this is the bar of excellence that we need for our people, people would meet it. But since our government's just, oh, well, anything goes, I guess we'll update you when we know, then anybody does whatever they want here in Hawaii. And unfortunately, that's been the case for many years.
Well, it's that whole reactive versus proactive is what we're seeing, right? And
we're
now,
seeing it. It's not just in Hawaii, though. We're seeing that all across the country. In fact, the World Health Organization today, in a statement this morning, they said that if you have one case or no case in your state, it's not a time to relax and not worry about the problem. This is the time to look at what's happening elsewhere and make proactive decisions. I don't think that's happening here.
Right. I mean, some of the suggestions people had was having latex gloves for when you pump gas or when you touch places where many, many people's hands and, you know, things that aren't clean have been. Carry Clorox wipes with you. Wipe down the cart. We actually just flew to Kauai this weekend, and one lady sat by my husband. All Clorox wipes. She wiped the whole seat down, the hands, the bottom, and I looked at her like, man, she is being
on it.
Right?
That's on it.
That's the person you want to sit next to on the plane.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we've learned a lot about this virus, and one is that that's probably a good idea anytime you get on a plane.
Right?
You know, that's probably a good idea anytime you go shopping is to wipe down those surfaces. You know, you're telling me that this is the first time that we're disinfecting these airplanes after every flight? This is the first time that the bus is being disinfected at night? What were we doing before?
How's about this is the first time you're washing your hands after you leave the bathroom?
What were you people doing before, right?
Seriously. It's like the most basic common sense ways to prevent the coronavirus or any infectious disease is to do the stuff your parents told you to do when you were 3. Clean up after yourself and wash your frickin' hands.
One of the memes I saw said things that are running out due to the coronavirus. It was toilet paper, hand wipes, sanitizer, and common sense.
Yeah.
All running out.
Terrible. All right, so after this is said and done, let's just say this plays out 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Looks like that's about the lifespan of this thing in other places. Where do we find ourselves here in Hawaii? And if you were governor...
He said it. Maleko said it.
Well done.
Let me have another sip of my non-alcoholic cocktail.
If you were in that, yeah, I'm out. By the way, is it time for a real one?
God, thank God.
If you were making decisions here in 6 weeks or planning for when we get out of this thing,
right,
knowing full well what we just discussed, that it's probably going to get a lot worse before it gets better, what would you be looking at as far as recovery for the state 8 weeks down the line?
You know, I think recovery for the state, especially when we mention the recession, is how do we get and make sure that we have enough finances that are here in the state to sustain ourselves? Because, again, we depend on tourism, we depend on military, and we don't depend on other things. You know what I thought of the other day is one of the reasons, I don't know if you guys heard this, people were afraid of food that's being trucked in, right? Food that's being shipped in. We know 90% of the food that we have is not from Hawaii.
Right.
So would a proactive solution be how can we get more local food production? And there are many studies that show that when you eat local, you actually develop an immune system for the local I guess, community that you live in, as opposed to eating foods or, honey from another country. You eat honey from Big Island from here, you develop the immunity to keep you healthy and safe.
Wow.
So I think proactiveness would be, how can we become more sustainable as a state so that when this happens, we're not running around like, oh shoot, all mats and containers have now stopped. Where are we getting food from? We should have been thinking about that already.
That's actually a great idea when you think about our dependence from outside. This is why there's a run on toilet paper and rice and bottled water. Is people depend on these things and they know
Whiskey.
that if there's a problem at the port, if there's a problem with getting these goods delivered, you're not going to get them. And a lot of it is from people who've lived through that happening in the past after hurricanes or after natural disasters. So here we are in a situation where a lot of people are too young to remember when that happened, or have no idea what would happen if our ports shut down suddenly and we didn't have access to these things. There are local farms producing. There are local farmers and cattle ranchers and fishermen, people who are providing all of the goods that we need on a daily basis. But really, the only people taking advantage of that are the are very, very special restaurants.
Yeah, and I would say, even the areas on the North Shore, this is kind of a creative solution. Where the road's falling in, why not create more fish ponds? Why not create more areas so that there's not as much erosion around the edges of the island where they're trying to throw sandbags and rock, and then, wait, hold on, it produces more fish.
Right.
So I think the food consumption is what makes people crazy. We've seen that. In times of emergency, when there's no food, people get crazy because hangry people get angry. So I think thinking forward into our food production should probably be number one, because it's something that we can control because we live in an island state. And of course, affordable housing, I think that's always been a number one issue for our state. But knowing that we've had this crisis for so long and now we're falling into a deeper crisis of a recession, that those two things, on Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's what you need: shelter and food. So it's not that I don't think there's other things that are important in life to go after, but those are the basic things that we look towards our government to help us sustain ourselves.
It's funny. Every time there's a big natural disaster, like a hurricane, was it Lane a couple years ago, and now coronavirus, it's always like, oh my God, we need to be more self-sustainable. We're in the middle of nowhere, because obviously if things get shut down, first of all, if they get shut down, no one's going to know when they get reopened again,
right.
which will be, and then that's going to make everyone hysterical and do crazy dumb stuff. But it's we get these reminders every once in a while that we need to be more sustainable, and then at some point the coronavirus will pass and it'll be over, and we're going to go right back to our same old lives, doing our same old stuff.
Yep.
And not taking the steps that need to be taken for the next, whatever the next coronavirus 2.0 is.
When I feel like that's the downfall of having government make decisions that are so crucial, is that they're going for news cycles, they're going for things that are popular that need to be addressed, instead of being proactive about youth centers or drug epidemics or things that have always existed that we've never addressed. And those are the kind of things, as governor, that I try to iterate inside our campaign. Is there's got to be somebody that's running for office because they have great ideas, because they've studied an issue and they want to actually solve it, and not just because it's the next step. Oh, I was the mayor and now I should run for governor. I was this, and well, I guess the next step is that. I think next generation should be very concerned about next step politicians.
Hashtag Tulsi.
That's still running for president, by the way.
I know she's
Wait, what?
running to the bitter end.
She's going to outlast Bernie.
But the whole presidential campaign is a whole another series of questions that
She might win just because she forgot to drop out.
Yeah.
Maleko.
People would be like, I don't want Biden. I'll just vote for her because she's the only one left.
Before we get to that, let's have a real cocktail. Andrew, what do you got for us?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, we have.
Hold on, no.
He's not on.
I lowered you because it was so loud. Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. They told me to be the
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine.
That's good.
So this is Deep Eddy vodka, ruby.
Vodka.
Oh, I like it.
Vodka. How do you say vodka in Russian?
Exactly how it's spelled on the bottle, sir.
Really?
It's how you're supposed to say it.
That's all right, Andrew.
Hold on. Say it into the mic, Andrew.
Flash is our special needs co-host here, so speak slowly.
Vodka.
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 This is great. So this
is ruby red grapefruit. It's Deep Eddy.
Ruby
It
red.
comes from Texas. Comes from Texas, from the Deep Eddy swimming hole. That's where they started the factory from. And it came from the same place, obviously, with Tito's. It's gluten-free, made 100% from corn. And obviously, because it's ruby red, this particular one is a little more, has more carbs. I'm not sure if you're into that, but some
Maleko's super into carbs. Can you tell?
Carbs. I love carbs.
But there's only like 3.
Andrea, it's okay to laugh. She's trying to be nice and courteous and not laugh at that joke.
It's okay to laugh at that.
And and their tin cans are a bonus or a beautiful, great, genius marketing thing.
Did you make a virgin one for Andrea?
No, it's okay. I'm just downing this thing.
The virgin one would be literally grapefruit juice. So if you want that.
And I'm sorry, what was the name of the cocktail again?
Deep.
I don't know.
What, it's grapefruit juice and vodka?
Yeah.
Isn't
Basically. It's vodka, grapefruit
Greyhound?
juice. Vodka, grapefruit juice, technically, yes. Vodka, grapefruit juice.
It is a Greyhound. Good for you, Maleko. Yes.
Simple syrup.
I pay attention sometimes.
And grapefruit juice.
That's delicious. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right.
It's called a Ruby Crush, by the way. Sorry.
Okay.
You do have a name for it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fired.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Start studying for the next drink, will you? Thanks, Andrew. So let's switch gears for just a little bit here. It's fun to bash on our governor. Governor!
Let's do it.
Oh, you need some more.
But at the same time, we should probably look at bigger, better, badder things. Let's talk about the presidential race. We mentioned Tulsi here for a second. I love Tulsi. She's actually really sweet. I've talked to her a few times. She's got a good political head on her shoulders, but I don't quite understand what she's thinking at the moment. It seems as though all is lost, and yet at the same time, she seems to have a plan. She's doing something.
Is she blinded by ambition? She just seems so overly ambitious to do exactly what you said. The next thing, the next thing, the next thing, no matter what.
So I was in Vegas when they had the Democrat debate, and she had people out there protesting with her face and the tape and "Don't silence Tulsi." And I was thinking, like, man, is this for real? Because we were actually at the point where many people with lots of money had dropped out with lots of potential, where I was like, but again, I don't know what the plan is. What is the game plan besides maybe gaining name recognition, maybe crossing the fingers for the VP spot? What else?
Definite name recognition.
Right.
But I mean, after when that 36-hour window when 4 candidates dropped out, she went on record and said, "I'm in it till the end."
Yeah.
Till the end.
So and I'm just telling you, if there were 2 names on the ballot and I didn't like one of the names, I'd vote Tulsi. I'd be like, I don't like that other guy. I'll vote Tulsi. And I wonder if that's what she's playing at.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think there's enough delegates left for that to make a difference.
No.
Probably not, right? I mean,
No.
this delegate system is confusing
But
to me.
then
It probably
it
makes
i-
more sense to you.
It
But
is the case, right, where once they finish the Democrat primary, that they would have to choose a VP candidate, right?
well, that's the point, right? That's what the delegates do. They go choose a candidate.
Yeah, one of
So
the
what does
other
she
ones
do?
that were getting a lot more votes that
Yeah.
dropped out of the race because they negotiated a deal with Biden behind closed doors already.
Yeah, that would have been the play.
All 4 of those guys that dropped out already have positions in Biden's cabinet for sure.
The problem is Biden is sold. He's forgotten who he made a deal with. So he made a deal with all of them individually.
Yeah.
He just doesn't remember which one he made with
he
what.
probably made a deal with Bernie and they both forgot.
No, the funniest one.
Governor!
Governor! I think in the Democrat debate, I was reading in the notes that they said, "How in the world are you going to be fighting for these lower class people?" And Bernie was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "You're a millionaire. You have 3 houses." He's like, "Well, I've been in politics for a while." What?
Wait a minute.
That's a true statement, though.
That is a true statement, but that also is very shifty because politics doesn't pay well. Unless it does.
No, but
it
it's
does.
like, I mean, look at what Andrea says about Tulsi. Just that name recognition alone. Then you go on a speaking tour, you sell a book or two. You get I don't know whether it's a talk show or there's
do a couple of
so
backdoor
many,
deals.
I mean, you do some backdoor deals. It's just a platform for the next thing, whatever that is.
Probably, I mean, gosh, Hillary Clinton was getting large sums of money for doing speaking engagements after she was.
Yeah.
So
And
maybe
the book deal, I mean, all of it, right?
Maybe.
There's sort of a standard.
Is that how that happens, though? I mean, all these deals happen. I mean, I think of House of Cards, right? And I just think of how all these backdoor deals get made and how all the real decisions happen after hours in some dark alley. And then the next day, suddenly, 4 Democratic candidates drop out of the race, 3 before Super Tuesday, 3 after Super Tuesday. Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Bloomberg, who spent $500,000, which, by the way...
Half a billion. Huge
By the way,
difference.
Somebody did the math on that. That's the equivalent of the average American spending about $833.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I saw that. If you were making $100,000, it would be like spending $883 on your campaign.
If you were worth $100,000.
Yeah.
At which point it's like, why not?
At what point does Bezos go, oh, that's all I got to do?
Seriously.
Shoot, I'll run for president. Yeah.
It's a half a day's...
Man, running an ad in the Super Bowl, that's big time.
It is big time.
And then to drop out, I was like, dang, you must have money to burn.
But they all dropped out so quickly.
Yeah.
And I would say somewhat like efficiently, right? Like it wasn't like there's hemming and hawing for a week and should I or shouldn't I? It was very quick and decisive and the endorsements came immediately.
Right.
And it's like clearly there was some action behind the scenes there.
Had to be.
Let me say this. This whole system of primaries being staggered, of doing this delegate system, it seems very dated in a world where everything is so instant.
In a world.
Like for example, to put it in terms that I'm familiar with, when we used to do the Miss Hawaii pageant, we used to tape delay it. We'd tape it, and then we wouldn't announce the winner for 2 weeks until it aired on television. We can't do that anymore because that night everyone's
knows.
on social.
Yeah.
And so we announce the winner, and it still may be a week before it's on television, but everybody already knows who the winner is. Here in this day and age, when it's pretty obvious that we could get a decision like that,
right.
We're still going to the polls. We're still putting in secret ballots. We're still waiting 4 or 5 days for those ballots to get counted. And then when that's done, we go to another state and we do it again. And we keep doing it, and we keep doing it. It seems like a waste of money and time to do this.
There's got to be a faster way. I think that's why a lot of people get disenchanted with voting in Hawaii for presidential candidates because, they announced the decision and I'm still at the voting booth.
That's it. Yeah, I'm still in line. And they've already said who the winner is. What's the point?
Yeah. Got to be something faster. We're in the 21st century. There's got to be something faster.
But then again,
everything's faster is hackable.
True.
Says the Russian.
Yeah! Nailed it! Mic drop. Podcast over. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next Wednesday. Thank you for your time. Nailed it!
Is that why you invited me?
A deep voice comes from the corner. Everything fast is hackable.
It's true, though.
It's true.
If you expect an instant result, then you don't have time to double check it.
I would say the other way is still just as corruptible. I mean, that's what people complain about.
It seems like paper ballots, from a security standpoint, are the best way to go.
One time. Everybody's ballots all were counted at one time. Then you would have had this diverse presidential candidate field for the Democrats all on one day. All their money went to that one day, winner take all, battle of the best. And at the end of the day, it could have been anybody.
Yeah.
But now, because you do these little microscopic elections, then, people start to drop out. Other people come in. You start, you get Buttigieg throwing his endorsement for this guy. You get Klobuchar throwing in her endorsement for her. And the thing is, if we all did it one time, there'd be none of that. It'd be like, let's all go to the big brawl, and at the end of it, we've got a winner. And it could have been anybody.
I like the also the idea of, I don't know if this is the right term, the staggered system. So you put your first choice, your second choice, your third choice
they call
down.
It rank voting.
Rank voting.
Oh, yeah, we're doing that in Hawaii now.
We are?
Rank voting. Yeah.
No.
Well, the Democratic primary is rank voting.
Oh, for the presidential
presidential Democratic primary.
I see.
So the Democratic primary ballots, you vote for your first, your second, and your third choice.
For the president?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So supposedly we had a bill. Well, I shouldn't say supposedly. There was a bill to introduce rank voting here in Hawaii for local races, for the governor's race, for state races. It didn't pass though. But I can tell you what is going to happen this year is that it's going to be all mail-in ballot. So starting in July, you guys are going to get your ballot probably second week of July. It'll be dropping to your house. So it doesn't matter if you are registered as an absentee or if you're registered for polls, the ballot will come to your house.
So it comes to your house. You got to do it mail-in ballot. Now, some people can go to the polls, like, Kupuna, if they're just like, I'm not doing it that way.
Right. So
However,
but it's like a poll. They get to go to Honolulu Hale.
bringing it back full circle, right? Just the primary the other day, they had a bunch of voting stations were like in old folks' homes and stuff. And so now there's even concern with voting over, again, it's just another large congregation of people. Oh, let me touch the same voting machine that thousands of other people have touched today.
Well, and one of the things, with the mail-in ballots, people think, oh, it's going to get all corrupt because people can vote for other people. But there are just as many problems with the actual walk-in day of voting. So the year that I ran in 2018, they ran out of ballots.
Right.
And, yep. In all of the areas in Waianae, they told people, oh, sorry, you can't vote. We ran out.
That doesn't seem shady at all.
I don't know. Is there no such thing as a copy machine anywhere? I have no idea how you can run out of.
If only there was a device.
Yeah.
There isn't a device to copy this piece of paper.
At that point, you have to extend voting hours and deliver extra ballots, or let people write their choice on a piece of paper and throw that into the box and just say, I want these people.
Right.
Just at some point, you just people. I don't care how your process works. If I'm voting for so and so, I just need to make sure that I vote for so and so.
Right. So Neighbor Islands, couple polls ran out of ballots. Of course, like how I said earlier, on the west side it happened. But so is it better that everyone mail in their ballots? Who knows? Because now you can do group voting, right? You can say, oh, let's all bring our absentee ballot and let's all do it together. So people are concerned about it. But hey, you could have done it anyways, right? Before you walked in, you could have congregated with friends and said, let's all do the same thing. So whether it's good or bad, who knows? You'll have 7 days prior to the day of the election, which the primary this year is on August 8th. So in those 7 days, there's going to be 5 centers open on our island. On the neighbor islands, there's only going to be 1. You can walk in and drop your ballot, or you can register there, and then you can vote in those 7 days prior to August 8th. So it's a new process for Hawaii.
It's a new process. There's lots of ways to get the vote out. Personally, I think mail-in voting is a great step for us. It gives it's a little more modern thinking, gives people the opportunity. Although, like you said, it's not without challenges. Last year, I did a story on a woman who got her ballot, filled it out, mailed it out, and then a week later got another ballot.
As if they didn't receive the first one?
It's just the same thing.
Look at Andrew's taking notes. Huh?
That one came back?
Yeah. No, like she got another blank one, as though she didn't mail it out in the first place, which was something that the voting office wasn't able to. They couldn't figure out what went wrong, because once you send your ballot in, your name comes off of it.
Yeah, they can't reconcile that after.
So they can't fix that. They can't say that, oh, this person voted, which seems to me like there's an easy fix for that. There should quickly be some way to ID that this ballot went out, this ballot went back in, even if you don't put a name on it.
You would think, but
hey,
yeah.
Who are we, right? What do we know? What do we know?
That's why we got Andrew here. Andrew, which way would you
We
prefer
know.
to hack Hawaii's voting system, Andrew?
What's easiest for you?
Guys, just take it easy. We'll handle it.
What are we even worried about?
That's it.
Sustainability. That's all you need to worry about.
Governor!
Forget the paper. No paper.
Who do you think is easier for Trump to defeat, Biden or Bernie? Or Tulsi?
Oh, man. I mean, I think maybe Biden. I don't know. I feel like...
You think it's easier for Trump to defeat Biden?
Well, I feel like with Bernie, it's at this very extreme point. I can only speak about it because I lived in Venezuela. And so I know that some of the advisors that he has near him are preaching this philosophy that for some people is hard to stomach. Because some of those philosophies that they use in Venezuela, they obviously didn't work because the government was not able to be sustainable.
I'm sorry,
It
you're
was
saying Bernie is
His socialist ideologies.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
got
one
it.
of his
In fact,
closest
Venezuela's economy collapsed completely.
Well, and that's why I'm saying that is he's preaching this thing that people saw fail firsthand in another country. It's hard for them to swallow that. Like what he's telling me is really going to happen. Really, I'm going to have free medical care. Wait. So I think that's the part that I feel like at least with Biden, it would be something where people could say, okay, this guy is kind of level-headed. What he's saying might be able to be might be able to happen. He has the intellect to get us there. So I do think that Bernie's campaign is more about rallying people in the middle to lowest income class, which I saw this in Venezuela because Hugo Chavez did it when he was president. Rallying the middle to lower class and getting them crazy about free stuff to the point that your numbers start to surge, and it's more of a movement than really like a competency and understanding if any of these policies will work. So, personal thought.
But do enough people understand that? Are enough people globally aware?
Do they need to understand, though? Because once you get behind a candidate, like you back your horse, most people don't understand the intricacies of any nominee's like policies.
Sure. I mean, first of all, people. Let's just be honest. People vote with their heart. They vote with what the most likable candidate. They vote with somebody who speaks to them, even if it's one speech.
Who looks the most presidential? Right?
Yeah, somebody who looks the most presidential. I mean, clearly, there wasn't enough support for certain candidates, and so they fell out. Why do they fall out? Why do people like Elizabeth Warren? Who seem to have enough popularity at the beginning of the contest, suddenly fall out of favor. Why does that happen?
Well, and when I ran for governor, I spoke with many governors across the United States who were giving me advice about this, that, because it was a tough race. But a lot of them are saying at least 60%, if not more, of the people you talk to will not know anything about you. Meaning that the majority of people, it's just almost like a smidgen of their mind, like, wait, do I know who that person? Yeah, I guess I know that person. That other 40 to 30% of people, they are even divided smaller into what you said. Maybe a third of that percentage is, hey, I want to know your policy stances. Maybe a third of that percentage is, I want you to make me feel good. And maybe a third of that percentage is, I just like you.
But even when it comes to policies, it's typically boils down to, I just want to know your single policy about this one thing. And a lot of the times it's like, whether it's, I don't know, healthcare or gun control or abortion, or for a lot of people, how is it going to affect my pocketbook? And so you align with a single policy for a candidate, and you really don't care about the 99% of the rest of their policies.
It's true. So, when I have my fundraisers, I play Kahoot with people so that they can get on their phones.
What does that mean?
That's Kahoot is an app that it's actually an instructional app. A lot of teachers use it in their classrooms. It's like an online quiz.
Yeah.
But everybody can play in the audience. You just open up your phone
like
and you
trivia,
can,
HQ.
Yeah, here's the question. 4 choices. You pick
We're
the choice.
super excited about this.
Yeah, so I play
It's
Kahoot.
fun to do. It's fun.
Well, we play with hundreds of people all at once. So whoever walks into my fundraiser, I let them know we're going to play
That's
Kahoot.
awesome. Oh, I want to do this.
For some of the older people, it's like, what, Kahoot? And they figure it out. They take out their phone. They figure out how to get to Kahoot.in.
Oh, so you're downloading an app and you're making others download this app.
Says the Russian.
Andrew taking more notes.
You guys are pointing at me.
Yes, we are familiar with this app.
Hundreds of people.
What? Siphon in for a reason that in a survey we did that people said they supported the candidate. And strangely, the number one reason that we found was people wanted to know policy stances. But like Flash said, it wasn't a one policy stance. It was the one that was most important to them.
Right.
One guy literally came up to me and said, I want to know what you think about bike lanes. I was like,
damn.
I like them.
Specific.
I was like, I think they're great.
Casey Neistat?
I was like, I ride a bike. He was like, okay, I'm good. I'm voting for you. I was like, just over bike lanes. I was like,
but what's interesting about that? If you only care about a single policy, a policy you care about today, you might not care about a year from now when you're in year 1 of a 4-year term.
Right. Well, and the reason why people are asking it though is because people want to know if the thing they care about, you care about. So even if the policies change, they want to know that you took particular care to what they care about the most, which, like you said, could be their family, could be their pocketbook, could be their ability to stay here in Hawaii. And once they know that you care about those things, then they feel like they can be with you because now we resonate. So
it could be like I want to know if you know your Twitter password. I want to know if you know how to touch a button or not.
I want to see you do a press conference. Go.
Are you talking about the governor?
Governor! So is that for you specifically, for people that voted for you? It's they cared about policies?
Yep. So we did a survey with a couple hundred people after the election, and I asked many questions. I asked what was the number one way that you were getting information about your choice for governor. The number one way was friends and family.
Really?
Yeah, so even if they watched a commercial or they heard an ad, they still went back to friends and family to figure it out.
So if somebody said, who should I vote for, and they said, oh, vote for Andria, that's how people made their decision.
That's like no different than your choice of like a restaurant or like everyone. No, they
Well,
care about word of mouth, like a word of mouth review.
That's how
from
it works
people
in
they
my
care
house.
about.
My wife and I sit down, and she may know something about a candidate that I don't, or I'll know something, and so we'll just make a cumulative decision. We'll just say, I'll say we should vote for this person for this race, and she'll go, okay, and vote for this one for here because she does this. And so, like, it really, like, I don't know anything about...
You vote for my guy, I'll vote for your guy kind of thing, a little tit
Well,
for
we
tat.
try not to cancel each other out, because that's... If you vote for one candidate and I vote for the other, then we cancel each other out. There's no point in our vote, and so
that
we
makes
try
sense.
to win each other over in debate at home before we go to the polls.
So basically, what you're saying is you just vote for all Lawrence candidates.
No answer.
That's working. I'll send you a text Lauren right now.
Staying quiet on that.
But no, yeah. So I think those are the things that we tried to study after the election was, one, how are people making their decisions? Two, what was the most important part of a candidate? One of the questions I asked them was about the most important characteristic you were looking for in the governor's candidate.
And the answer was?
The answer was competency.
Oh, well,
That's
Like
a
knowing
legitimate
your
answer.
Twitter password and pressing a button?
Which
So
is
wait,
crazy.
no.
Which is crazy because, obviously we must be serving people that do their homework, which means that this survey is skewed because we have a governor that I don't think. Oh, did you guys hear that?
No, but if you're asking your voters,
No.
that's why they're voting for, or people that backed you, right? That's why they're voting for you.
Well, we weren't
because
necessarily asking our people, but yeah, I'm
if
sure.
you want an
I'm just asking
incompetent
anybody,
candidate, if competency is important to you, you're not voting for the governor.
Yeah.
Do you find? I've seen a lot of stuff since Warren dropped out of the race, and obviously you can speak to this as well. Is there sexism that we don't see with the candidates? I do feel like I've seen it myself with Warren. You know, the types of questions you get asked, the headlines, the reasons for why you did or didn't do a certain thing. I was curious to your thoughts of that with Warren and all the other female presidential candidates, but also what you yourself have experienced.
Well, I think for me, when I ran, I would say the main two things that were hard for me was not just being a woman. And it's not, I don't think it's because it's sexist. I think for the most part, it was because they were used to dealing with a man to negotiate. They were used to dealing with a man, like unions specifically. When you come into a room, they're used to dealing with someone that they can basically say, you're gonna this, we're gonna that. And they couldn't handle me like that. And the second thing they definitely didn't like or they weren't comfortable with was my age.
Too young.
Yeah. As
Same
soon
with
as I walked
what
in.
was it?
And they just associated age with competency.
Oh yeah, I walk in and they're like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me!"
Like Buttigieg or what? How do you?
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. I mean, I heard some things with him just saying he was just too young.
Well, and I believe that it's not the years you live, but it's how you live those years. So I mean, you could be however old. It doesn't mean that you're more experienced. So.
But then all the younger people complain that everyone's too old, and then they don't back the younger candidates.
Right.
So then
That's
it's
true.
like, what's actually really important to you then?
And I sat in a panel with Governor Waihee just a couple weeks ago at the law school, and I said, what was hard was running at my age. And then he looked at me and he goes, "What? I was the youngest one who ran for governor." I was like, "You used to be." Now I was the youngest one who ran for governor. I was 37 when I ran. And he was saying that it was difficult for him. The first time he ran, he was 30-something, and people wouldn't give him the time of day. So when he ran again, he was 40-something, and he wins. Like, it's unfortunate, but I think for a lot of people, 30-something is way too young.
Do you think age is a bigger obstacle to overcome than sex?
In my case, yes.
That was the question I was going to ask you. Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, because I think that they were okay to entertain the fact that I could carry myself and that I could speak, articulately, but I don't think that they were like, ugh, you might not have been through enough real life experiences for us to know you can handle X or Y or Z. Okay, I have a mortgage, I have children, I'm married. So
You've been in office. I mean, you've
I have
already got
office.
actual political experience, which a lot of candidates come into this thing and they don't have much.
So I guess it's all perspective because it wasn't like everybody was looking for that. Not everybody was looking for this large amount of experience. Some people are looking for a fresh start, like what you're saying. Some people are looking for anybody but the old guys, anybody but the same old, same old. So I think for us, it was the matter of how much money we could raise. When I ran for governor, we raised $510,000. I've never raised that much money in my life, like $500,000, and I was 30 something.
Bloomberg just dropped that on the floor. I'll pick that up. Dropped a couple pennies on the floor.
Bloomberg's laughing his head off. Like, this girl couldn't.
So do you think
cute.
on a national level, ageism is a bigger obstacle than sexism?
Definitely.
Really?
I think that on the national level, especially when you run the country of the United States, I think they're looking for somebody that they feel is competent. I mean, look who's left in the race.
2 white guys and who else?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard.
again, because she forgot to drop out. Like, she's been surfing, and she's like, it's on her to-do list. She just hasn't gotten around to it.
She's on Hawaiian time for dropping out.
That's it. She's like, oh, that thing? Yeah, never mind. Cancel my subscription. I power ready.
Oh, man. But it was a great experience. I mean, I'll tell you that much. Like, there is nothing more exciting than going across the state of Hawaii and affecting change in thousands of people's lives.
All right, let's go back for a second. Let's remind the viewers at home. I say viewers.
Actual viewers.
There's actual viewers now. Let's remind the people at home about your gubernatorial race. You were, first of all, you were running as a Republican in a blue state. Mm-hmm. So you were on an uphill battle anyway. So
very conservative.
We can talk about all the
state.
challenges you had, and I mean, I would say from an outsider's perspective, probably the biggest challenge you had was the fact that you were the wrong political party for most of the people in the state. Now that's been overcome before, right? I mean, we know that there was a very popular Republican governor not too long ago, and so this time around, if you were to do it again, knowing that was an obstacle for you, is there anything you could do to win the voters over? I mean, you talk about some very serious issues that people talk about, like gay rights, talk about gun rights, talk about a lot of issues that are currently on party lines, immigration, things like that Republicans have drawn a very hard line in the sand on with this president that has really isolated the country, something that kind of burns people in Hawaii.
Well, I think that in the state of Hawaii, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like we're a little bit flipped because a lot of Democrats are super conservative.
I just said that. They're super conservative.
Mm-hmm. It is a conservative state.
I mean, a lot of Democrats I talk to are like almost exactly like me, laborers, conservative, middle class. Like, so a lot of times when I went to people, they were shocked. One conversation I'll share with you guys, I ran into a voter, and we're sitting in a meeting. I'm talking. He's listening. He's kind of like furrowing his brow, like, who is this girl? And he literally blurted out, are you a Republican? I was like, yeah. He goes, you don't talk like one. I was like, well, what is a Republican supposed to talk like? He's like, I don't know. You don't look like one.
Didn't you get from some far-right Republicans when you ran some heat for being, quote-unquote, too Democrat?
Some heat. I had to.
Is there such a thing as a liberal Republican?
Oh, I'm one of them. Supposedly, I'm a flaming.
Well,
liberal.
couldn't you just be a conservative Democrat and call it a day?
Well, I don't know. I feel like for me, I feel like that is who I am. I feel like I resonate with the parts of the Republican platform and the ideals that make up me.
You're a moderate.
Yeah, and I feel like for me that's fine, and I don't want to go out and try to be anything else for anybody else.
Well, you gotta have to put a label on it when you run for office.
The label is only pertinent to people about 60 years and older. So people 60 years and older were very firm on knowing whether I was D or R. 60 to 30, all they wanted to know was who I am, what I'm about. 30 and under, they could care less.
Do you think
30 and under is asking when can they vote?
Yeah, 30 and under is like, did I miss the election? Did it happen?
That actually happened with her, actually.
People were texting me the day of the election like, girl, I got your back. I'm like, it's done. Yeah, the election's over. Thank you, though.
Good God.
Yeah. So I do think that there are a need for that, but it wasn't a need for a certain age group. So there was that middle bracket of age group that I was basically just acclimating. Guys around my age, 30-something, most of them were not even participating.
Around our age, 30-something.
Well, the thing is I go back and forth. I think sometimes I have a lot of Republican ideals. I mean, I make more money than I want to give away. Like, I'm tired of having high taxes. But there's other parts of it where, like, I'm all about equal rights for all. I'm all about raising the taxes to pay for people who can't afford it. I would support community incentives, things that not necessarily are Republican. And so when you put a badge on it, those things become drawn in the sand. And since you've run, we've got a president and a Republican Congress who's very, very divisive,
Well, and if Bernie wins, it would just be the same, just from the other side.
And I don't want to say Republican Congress. I mean, we've got a Congress. We've got Democrats and Republicans who are divisive. They are dividing this country along party lines. So it's not just a badge anymore. It's like, whose side are you on now?
Yeah, but I would say locally, it's just the opposite. I mean, people are sick and tired of the Democrats in office that have been dividing our state. Let's talk about Mauna Kea. Let's talk about issues that I stood on the side of the people who think that Democrats represent them. Who was the only one that came out and said that they Everybody stood with the people of Mauna Kea, only me. So who else was supposed to do that? Oh yeah, that's right, because it was supposed to be an environmental issue. The Sierra Club endorsed Ige. He's this guy for environment. What has he done for the environment that was so wonderful that has stopped climate change? Nothing. So I feel like in the state of Hawaii, we are facing the exact opposite, is we're being overrun by not a party, not ideals, certain people that have held office for way too long.
You brought up Mauna Kea.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about that yet today, and I think we should. There's obviously, this is an issue. First of all, it was good for uniting Hawaiians. You know, Hawaiians have a history of fighting with each other. They have a history of battling each other when they should be working together to better Hawaiians in general. And so, you know, a lot of times before Mauna Kea, you know, I would go and report on stories where you would have, you know, Hawaiian families, and it goes back to some family beefs, basically. You know, you got old families here that don't get along. And so what happened is you have all these little pockets of Hawaiian communities that weren't together. Mauna Kea seemed to bring those people together, at least temporarily for a bit. And it was all opposed to one ideal, which was basically, here you have a governor who doesn't listen to the people. So in that aspect, do you think that our leadership could have handled that situation better? And, I mean, was there a way out of that?
Well, I mean, I think it's more than just he didn't listen. He was ready to run them over. I mean, when you bring in the National Guard and you line up the street with hundreds of law enforcement officers that are ready to face with children and women and families, what is this? Could there have been a better plan? Of course. In June of 2019, when they decided that that was it, they were going to start moving pieces up for TMT. Did TMT have all the funding it needed to finish its project? No. To date, they still don't have enough. Do we know how much the project's going to cost, and do we know that once they build it, that there's a decommission plan or anything? No, because the state waived any bonds that this company needs because they're so anxious for them to come up here and do whatever. Could there have been a better plan? Obviously. And I think that one of the things that happened, it was in October of last year, they said, we came up with a compromise. If you guys stand down, we'll build more homes for Hawaiians.
I remember this.
I was like, screw you guys. You guys should have been building homes for Hawaiians this whole time. What do you mean all of a sudden this is some kind of like give and take? You should have been doing that because that's a federal mandate. You were given money and land to build homes for Hawaiians, and now all of a sudden if they stand out, now you're going to build homes. Come on. Like, I just think at a certain point it was just getting ridiculous. Christmas Eve last year, Christmas Eve, he gives the directive to Mayor Kim and says, get them off the road. And what happens? Mayor Kim calls up Auntie Noi Noi and he says, you guys need to get off the road. The governor wants you guys off the road. She said, fine. You guys stand down. We'll get off the road. He made the agreement. They signed it on a piece of paper. He goes and tells the governor, and the governor goes, what? What did you just do? Governor!
Andrew, we need another drink.
All right. Andrew's working on the cocktail there. Obviously a divisive issue, not resolved yet, by the way.
Still not resolved.
But millions of dollars lost.
The Japan thing was huge, and there's a lot of hesitation with getting that money back. There may not be enough money for the project to get back on its feet. But at the same time, I don't see a sense of backing down from the governor or from any of our political leaders. It doesn't look like they feel as though they lost this battle. It's like they're still pushing forward. And to me, that says kickback. To me, that says the governor or the people that are in charge of this project, University of Hawaii, there's so much money in this thing that from a business perspective, they don't want to lose the deal. And no one's thinking about what really is going to happen if they start to move forward with this project.
No, not at all. And I think they're trying to throw out a little bit of white flags here and there. Hey, guys, we're going to clean up this one, this telescope that went away. Oh, we're going to clean up that. Are you guys getting happy? We're going to do this. But at the end of the day, no plan.
Right.
So people ask me all the time, what would you have done as governor in the event that TMT happened? My answer, I would have had a plan. The fact that we have a leader that has zero plan for Corona, for the volcano erupting, for the no plan, that should worry everybody.
The advancement of science, I think, is important right now, particularly since, you know, we're dealing with climate change. We're dealing with global warming. We're dealing with a destruction of our planet systematically through corporate decisions that make bad decisions. You know, right now the state of Hawaii is suing oil companies for the damage they cause knowingly. So there's acknowledgement that there's some global disaster mitigation that we're trying to put in place here. So the advancement of science would make sense seeing as we need to find some alternatives to take care of our planet. So they work well together. The fact that this happens to be in a place that Hawaiians hold so sacred makes this such a contentious issue. But at the same time, there's already telescopes there. At the same time, there's already construction happening in places on these islands that were considered sacred. So it's almost as though we put a microscope on this project and we killed this project because it was an accumulation of things. But at the same time, I think there could have been a telescope there, and I think it could have been something that the Hawaiians were amenable to if it was planned together.
Maybe. I would say 50% of the disaster was no plan. 50% of it was poor PR. I mean, when you let an issue like that raise to a global level, you're done.
Yeah.
When you got people like Jason Momoa jumping in and Janet Jackson, I mean, now it's to the point where no matter what your reasoning is, it's way past the point. You should have had your PR together, and if you thought you were going to, you should have done it. But
when Neil deGrasse Tyson chimes in and says, it's their land, let them make the decision.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're talking about science stuff.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
You've lost.
At that point, you back down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different reasons why it led up to this point, but I would say that I continue to say is that the current way that we've been going and the way that they've been handling business against Hawaiians and against the people and not doing things that push us forward, people are tired of that. So I think that's why a lot of Democrats were coming this way was because, not because they were Democrat or Republican, but they've seen enough to say, you know what, I'm ready for something different.
Right.
Like, let us get to know who you are.
I don't think the TMT issue is any closer to being resolved than it was 6 months ago.
It's a stalemate. It'll never get resolved.
But also, both sides, I think the Hawaiians have missed out on an opportunity to take this unity and really do something with it. Outside of protesting TMT, they didn't have okay, what's the next step after that?
What else can we move forward on? And I mean, is there an opportunity for that established unity to move forward? I mean, shoot. I mean, you've almost got a political party if you put all the Hawaiians together.
You would think, because there was a possibility with all the movement and all the momentum that you could do something with that. And I would say that even with the Kalailoa issue, when they were moving the turbines and whatever, the only people that were out there with the people were two Republicans, Kurt Favela and myself. No one else was to be found. So I'm trying to explain, and not through words, but through actions, that we are the kind of people that listen, because we have to be that ground level. When you're Republican, you got to be a freaking standout.
In Hawaii,
yeah,
absolutely.
You cannot be mediocre.
Right.
You got to be there. You got to be on it. And so I feel like that is what I'm trying to portray for this next generation of leaders. Be whatever you want to be. Be true to who you are, but be the kind of person that leads Hawaii with your heart and in a way that makes sense, and have a plan so that people can follow you and you can do anything. Like he said, if there was a plan for Hawaiians, I think that something great would have happened, Is that maybe the next political move for you? Maybe to help the Hawaiians get political and to really start making a difference? Well, I would hope that, definitely through my actions. I did do a few candidate academies. I've been running candidate academies for the past 6 years.
What does that mean?
Just people who want to run for office. I bring them under me. I teach them how I did what I did. And a lot of stuff that I do is non-traditional. Did I have a campaign manager? No. Who designed all my stuff? Me. And so I tell people sometimes my way is not a good way for you, but this is the way that it worked for me.
It's authentic to who you are.
Yeah.
So you do these little political boot camps. So it's instead of just yelling at the news, put your name on the ballot.
Yep, I do. I mean, enough talking already. You're frustrated. You think you're a leader. Step up. This is a very hard thing for you to do. It's going to be hard for you. It's going to be hard for your family, and it's going to be hard financially.
A lot of leaders emerged in the Kia'i movement.
Oh yes. There's quite a few that, as soon as it was going on, they reached out to me. They said, "Hey, what office should I run for? I think I want to do it." Kaika Marzo. He's running for mayor.
He's running for mayor.
Good.
Against Harry Kim, which is an interesting challenge.
Yeah, that will be interesting because Mitch Roth, the lead prosecutor, is also running for mayor for Hawaii Island.
Is Mufi going to run for mayor or governor? Which one you think? Mufi's going to run for something.
He's still on HTA. He's okay, right?
Yeah, he's running for something.
95% says he's running for mayor this year.
Mayor.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Again.
Yeah. From what I hear.
And then when Tulsi doesn't win president, what's she going to go for?
What are you talking about, Flash? It's not over.
It's not over.
Breaking news. Tulsi not going to win the presidency in 2020.
Oh, man. But yeah, I think there was a lot of people. I don't know if you guys know about Lana Kila, one of the Kia'i for Mauna Kea. He's running for OHA. We also have, I think what is his stage
Is
name?
OHA still a mess, or do they finally have a cohesive unity?
I would say it's still a mess.
They cleared out some garbage, though. Things are getting better over there.
Hopefully. There was that little, hoorah when some Hawaiians went in and assaulted other Hawaiians. But
I mean, it's like you said. It's like, there's so much infighting. It's like you guys are just shooting yourselves in the foot.
Yeah,
for sure.
It could definitely be a better tool for the people.
Right, and I don't know if you guys know Kaipo Hanakahi. He goes by what is it? Ja Maoli. He's a musician. He's running for OHA. So
really?
So there's a lot of people that have kind of stepped up, said, "Hey, I'm tired of this. I don't want to talk anymore. I want to run." Great.
Good.
I think it's
Are
happening.
these people that are going through your political boot camps?
Well, the people who I think that honestly that have the heart for it. The only two requirements I have to help people run for office is one, you have to be teachable, and two, you have to love your community.
What about three, have good hair? I think Maleko's got a shot.
That's it.
Well, with the hair part.
Yeah, I don't have the other two qualities though, so that's it.
Yeah.
You're not teachable?
No, that's it. I've learned all I can learn in life.
Old dog. You know what they say.
Has Kaiko Marza, did he come to you?
Yeah, we met when we were in Pahoa. And so we talked a little bit. Kaika is one of those guys, go big or go home. Mm-hmm. So he talked.
Well, he was the face of this Kiai movement. I mean,
and during the lava flow, that's when he got the most traction. He was the guy that was right there when the lava was erupting, doing live coverage on all the streets. So Kaika wanted to run for either Senate, House, or Mayor, of which I told him, I said, this is going to be your first political run. Like, you really want to think about this because I believe a lot of Hawaiians need hope. And in order for them to build their hope, we need some Hawaiians to win. So
run for a race, you're going to win.
Or at least have a good shot of winning.
Don't run against Hanabusa.
Right.
That's a good.
Also says the Republican gubernatorial candidate in Hawaii.
Oh my gosh! Wait, Hanabusa is running for mayor, guys. Just FYI.
She is.
Oh, sorry. No one cared.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shots fired. Yeah. All right.
Oh boy.
Andrew's like, make a note to talk to Hanabusa. She seems like a likely client. Sorry, Andrew. Andrew's like, I did not expect to be the butt of these kinds of jokes when I came in today.
Andrew, you're making something new over there. What do you got for us today?
Governor!
We have a governor. We have a play on what is it called? It's basically it's a gin cocktail. It's a French 75. It's a play on a French 75. So ours...
Some champagne?
Yes, just the top. Ours has guava.
Guava.
Yes. So, for you...
It's a mocktail.
Lemon juice, guava, and topped with a little seltzer. Wait, give back. I'm not done.
Ooh.
Okay, and then what's
Guava
the
is
actual
my
drink?
favorite.
Aviation gin, lemon juice, a little simple, and topped with champagne.
And Aviation, that's Ryan Reynolds is a part of that now, correct?
Obviously.
He has such great marketing for that gin. It's incredible what that guy's doing.
Yeah, I mean it's
He's
coming.
a marketing genius.
Of course.
I'm so jealous.
Aviation is one of
his hair.
It's one of the more Western gins, and it's a lot lighter than more lighter and more floral than what particular gin drinkers are used to, which is why it works so well.
Is that what you mean by Western? Is
yes.
the flavor?
Yeah, because it comes
profile?
from the British Isles, and they know like how to drink gin.
And I'm sorry, what's the name of this cocktail again?
This is called the Guava Royale.
Guava.
Got a Guava Royale.
Guava Royale with cheese.
Guava.
Got a Guava Royale. Goodness,
I like it.
Sorry.
Oh wow! Hey now!
Sorry.
Dropping
We're in the presence of a lady, and Andrea's here as well.
Yes.
My.
Hey-oh.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
All right, so while we're drinking this cocktail here, just a few more questions for you, Andrea. By the way, you've got your you got some folks watching. Who's watching right now? Who's keeping an eye on what things are going on
so
with the
I have
Andrea
a social
account?
media guy. His name is Blake. He actually lives on Maui, and so there's people across the state who still help my campaign. And specifically, one of the things we learned along the race.
Wait, and what are you campaigning for again?
Oh, so I'm running for city council this year.
Wait, we didn't even cover this. Okay, so you're running for city council.
Yeah.
Maleko teed it up, but she
Yeah,
Anyway.
so District 1, which is from Eva to Kaena Point, I'll be running for Kim Pine's seat. As some people know, she's running for mayor this year.
Oh, sorry.
And city council deals with things such as waste, trash, streets, sewers. So a lot of the everyday stuff that we are plagued with, homelessness, crime, all city stuff.
Wow.
Okay, now, so speaking of trash and waste, you do this interesting thing.
I thought you were going to say, Governor!
It's not this year, but yes.
Everyone does beach cleanups, and beach cleanups are fantastic, but you do this crazy beach cleanup that I've never seen anyone attempt, where you literally take out the abandoned cars, which I don't know, since, I was born and raised in Hawaii. There's always been an abandoned car issue. And I'm just...
Beach?
At the beaches and everywhere. But how and why did you decide to be like, you know what, when I do my beach cleanups, I'm gonna take out the abandoned cars? Because logistically, that just seems bananas.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough. So I'll just read our stats to date. So we're on cleanup number 22. To date, we've hauled 242,968 pounds of trash. We've recycled 12,071 tires. We've removed 123 abandoned cars. And we've cleaned 78 areas of the community.
Wow, that's fantastic.
How many abandoned cars?
176.
What's the deal with the abandoned cars?
Well, the price of metal has dropped, but also there's only one or two, I would say one person that has the city contract. There has been a little bit of a decrease of space available for these tow companies to hold the amount of cars. So I think they're definitely, not just with abandoned cars, but with trash in general for our state, has not been held well. I don't know if you guys know, but this year Big Island stopped collecting all plastic.
Where's it going?
You just throw it away. Nobody collects it anymore.
Well, we weren't recycling it for a while. I mean, even in Honolulu, we recycle it. It just goes in the trash anyway.
So there are companies that take it out, but the majority of them are starting to lose money because you have to hold it, and then you basically put it in a square. You put it on a ship, and then you hold
we can't just send it to China anymore.
No.
They don't want it.
Indonesia is refusing all the boats now.
Yeah.
So nobody wants plastic. So we just give it to the dolphins. They want it. They love plastic.
And so I think that's been a problem for our state. So cleanups for me was a way for me to just get out there, get the community involved. As you know, in a lot of places where there's illegal dumping, abandoned cars, guess what else there is? High crime, homelessness. I mean, it attracts what it looks like.
Let me ask a really dumb question. I have a car. I'm not
Where
going to
do I
sell
leave
it.
it?
I want to get rid of it.
Ask Russia what to do.
So what's my option besides
You pay someone to steal it.
Yeah, besides leaving it at Bellows, what you drive it to a junkyard?
Well, so the Heart and Lung Association, they take cars. I think it's called
Kidney cars
Kidney
takes it,
cars
yeah.
takes.
But even like junkie cars that you would otherwise abandon?
Do you guys have 1-800 Cars for Kids in Hawaii?
No. But they
No,
do.
but
They
we
do.
have something
donate
like
for-
that. Yeah. Well, there's a couple places you could donate your cars. Kidney Cars is the biggest one. We advertise that here at iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
And they'll come and they'll tow it away
Yep.
if it doesn't run. Really? Yeah.
So I think there's a few ways, but either way, I don't think it's getting easier to get rid of cars, and trash is getting harder.
So when you pick up the abandoned car, where you have it like towed to a junkyard, or
Oh
you
my
put it
gosh.
on a trailer, right?
It's way harder than what people think.
I'm so fat. It's just from a logistical standpoint for what I do for a living. I'm very curious as to like actually how it works.
Well, the first thing is that we can't just take any old car. So you can't just take people's cars off the street. It has to be derelict. Derelict means that it's missing a major car part. It doesn't have a license. It hasn't been registered, et cetera, et cetera.
Like it's rusting on the beach.
Something, yeah. So
Got it.
derelict cars.
It's like the car version of Maleko.
So once the car is derelict, you can actually start the process. The first thing you got to do is you got to call the police.
Got it?
Take notes because you might need this for Maleko.
Yeah. Pay attention.
Yeah,
idiot.
take notes. Take notes, derelict.
First thing is you call the police. After you figure out that the car is derelict, you make sure it's not stolen. So the police do the run for me so that I know that what we're taking is for real derelict. Then I have to get a company that has a flatbed. Then I got to bring out a front loader. Then we got to smash the cars and stack them like Tetris. Make sure that enough of them fit. We got to strap them down. I got to call the metal place, make sure that they can take my cars. They got to drain the oil. And then they got to move it over to Schnitzers, which then scraps the metal.
What's snitcher?
Schnitzers is the only...
Snitchers.
That should have been the word of the day.
Snitches.
They're the only company on this island that scraps metal. So if you ever go to their yard, it's this huge thing. Like I've never seen something so large in my life, and it just chews up the car and it scraps the metal. So I take it to Schnitzers, and then they recycle the metal. And so all of those parts I coordinate when we do these cleanups.
It sounds way too much work.
Just leave it on the beach.
Yeah,
It's just
shit.
easier.
It's like let's let the bush
Let's
go
just
overgrow
throw
it.
this. Yeah. No wonder there's so many cars
Let's
on the
just go
beach.
surf.
This is complicated.
Oh my goodness.
Is
Can't we
it
just like send them all to Cajol Lave or something like that,
Oh
you
my
know, or
Yeah.
just
Target
like
practice.
just set up a nice recycling plant over there.
Hold on, the Russian hacker has a question. Go
No,
ahead,
no,
Andrew.
no, no. I have a legitimate. I might be completely wrong. Does iron or metal not add an environment to the ocean sometimes, depending on
It
how
does.
much
It does.
grows on it?
So one of the old ships that they use right here, I think it was called the Kaholoho'olani. It was one of the, I don't know, not Navitec ships. Anyways, they stopped using it. They stripped it down. You got to take off all the metal.
Oh, that
all
was
the
the
wiring.
one in the Alloy that just sat there forever, right? Yeah.
So once you strip it, you can actually drop it, and then it becomes a artificial reef.
Oh,
So they stripped that one down and they dropped it out in
but that costs more than.
Maili.
In fact, we did a project like that in the state 20, 30 years ago where we took all the cars from Kailua and turned those into an artificial reef, right?
What? Where?
Isn't that, are you remembering this?
I don't
Like,
remember.
you remember the junkyard in Kailua, like on
Yeah.
Junk Road?
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the end of that
And
junk road?
like by the quarry.
All those cars were cleaned out, and if my understanding is correct, they were taken and they formed an artificial reef
What?
out
Yeah.
off of one of the coasts
Really?
here, and there's this huge undersea car graveyard that's now a reef, like it's covered in coral and
Talk
there's
about
fish
like
and shark.
sustainability.
Right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right? Yeah, so I think there are solutions that I feel like could be applied to this because obviously with Hawaii being an island, we're going to have to get smarter at recycling, at trash.
But
at
also
waste.
specifically to what Maleko was talking about, I mean, there's a coral reef issue happening globally where it's like you're killing two birds with one stone.
Right?
Yeah,
Maleko, that's your platform.
that's
Yeah, you're welcome.
thanks.
You're welcome.
Do you guys know that coral reef can be cut and replanted, and then it grows?
I did not know
absurd.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found
It's
out
a
that here.
living organism.
It can also grow when
like
you get
starfish.
cut by coral,
Oh, yeah,
and
it
it
grows
grows
in your foot.
inside
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. Bad news bears.
That's not good.
No.
Not
But it's good for them. It's not
Go
really
coral, go coral.
Go coral.
All right, let's get to the last few questions here. You used to be a music teacher. What was the first instrument?
Oh, yeah. Are you performing?
Anyone should learn.
The first instrument anyone should learn is piano.
That's what I know how to play the piano.
Yeah, piano is.
Used to anyway.
why
I
is
used to
that?
know how to play the piano.
Well, so with piano, you can learn melodies, but you can also learn chords, which in music, it's good that you know the chord structure so you know the foundation of music. So, can you play the ukulele and still get good at music? Sure. Can you do guitar? But those are more solo instruments. Piano is more accompaniment instrument, so you start to understand the structure of how music is made, how to write songs.
So it's a good
So-
foundational
Yeah,
instrument.
Yeah, even if you're not amazing at it, like learn some stuff on piano.
Plus,
Chopsticks.
I think it's easier to learn the chord structure and everything like that when you have a piano, because at least with the piano, the buttons are specific. You know, the C is always the C, whereas on a guitar, you know, depending on where your hand is on the strings, or even on an ukulele, the way you hold the ukulele can be different.
When did you stop playing the piano?
Oh,
For
as soon as
starters.
my parents stopped making me.
Oh,
Yeah,
touche.
that was- yeah.
Same. Same.
Yeah,
No.
I was.
Did it
But
for about a
you
year.
regret it now, don't you?
Oh, totally
yeah.
regret.
Yeah.
And that's what my dad said. He's like, "You're going to regret this," and I was like, "But I
yeah.
don't right now," and I didn't.
Shut up, Dad. You don't know anything.
Yeah, and then I was like 19, and I was like,
Oh.
"Damn!"
I'm
You
gonna
know
go
what it was?
blow dry my hair.
I regret it. I could tell you the exact. At least I still have hair, Flash. Don't be jealous, yeah.
This is why I tease you about your
Yeah,
hair,
it's
because
good.
I'm jealous.
And so I remember the day I regretted it. I was in college, my freshman year in college, and it was we were on spring break, and I was still on campus, and we were in like the student lounge, and this guy was there with us, some other guy that had stayed behind, and he jumped on the piano in the student lounge, and he started playing the piano beautifully. And immediately,
Oh, yeah.
a handful of girls all came around and all started
kidding
leaning
me?
on the
Always
piano.
boils down to the girls.
And everybody's like, "Oh, they're so beautiful," and they were just all
Piano,
googly-eyed over
politics,
this.
It all comes down to
this
the same thing.
a-hole with a piano, and I'm just over there going, "God damn it, I can play three blind mice over here." You want to watch me do chopsticks? Watch. Ding, 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 ding.
For Elise, it was pretty, but everybody knew it.
Yeah.
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 So, can you do something for us, or
Do something.
dance, monkey, dance?
What? Do you see any instruments here? I don't.
No, she's a classically trained singer.
Oh, I'm a voice teacher.
Are you gonna sing for us?
I mean, I guess I
Holy
could.
crap.
I
Do you
don't
see any
know.
Instruments.
But does voice teacher is that mean actual like vocal like talking as well, or just singing?
Well, I mean, I understand the vocal mechanism. So if people
Can you do character voices?
no
Like, can you do Ige?
Dance, monkey, dance.
no.
At this time, I would like to remind you peoples.
No, you got to go more Kermit,
Ho-ho.
less human.
Oh my god.
Less human.
You know, Davey D, he does a really good one.
Yeah,
like,
he does.
On the commercial breaks.
DVD's good at
Oh,
it.
God.
You know who does a good Ige? Half the frickin' state.
True story.
That's like the one impression everyone will do. Like, oh, I got an Ige. All right, we want to hear something.
Okay, well, hopefully it's not too loud.
You need to like warm up, do the vocal.
Well, on another day I'll warm up. But just real quick, so I definitely was classically trained. I went to BYU, so a lot of the singing we did was in Italian, in German, in French. So I'll just sing a really quick Italian song. BYU, Brigham Young University.
Okay.
I went to college in Utah, so. Hopefully this is not loud, because this stuff gets loud. Should I back off way off the mic?
I backed it up for you.
Okay. I should stand up. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
No, I.
Good thing you haven't had anything to drink.
Oh yeah.
She's standing up. You're getting serious.
I shouldn't sing this sitting down.
If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, and you really should be, this is amazing.
Okay, well, we'll see how this goes.
Okay, I'm going to turn everybody else's mic off.
Oh my. Nel cor più non mi sento, brilla la gioventù, cagion del mio tormento, amor se colpa tu. Mi pizzichi, mi stuzzichi, mi pungichi, mi mastichi. Che cosa è questo in me? Pietà, pietà, pietà. Amore un certo che disperar mi fa. There you go.
Damn! Damn!
Give it up for City Council candidate Andria Tupola.
Look at her sandbagging. Like, oh, I don't know if I can sing. And, I haven't warmed up, and she's haven't sang in years.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
That was
That was
gorgeous.
absolutely beautiful.
I haven't heard
Thank you.
classical singing like that since I've been
Since
to
I
the
played
theater,
piano.
You know, since
I haven't heard classical singing like that since I fell asleep at the opera.
wow,
Wow.
that was beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, wow. See, if you'd have done that when you were running for governor, man, boom, instant votes.
Just walk around singing Italian songs.
That's just, have you met me? I'm
Along
Andria.
along with that app, the spy app that you use,
Oh.
forget about it. Hand in hand.
No, Andrew, that's the app that you use.
Yeah, let's
And
just
by
be
you, I
clear.
mean Putin.
We have an app just for you.
Andrea, can you tell from just speaking to someone if they have the potential for a good singing voice, or are those two things not related at all?
I mean, I think, you are able to tell whether or not people can resonate, but I think that one of the things that people don't understand sometimes is transferring from a speaking voice into a singing voice. So it's not automatic. I have seen people who speak well and they can't translate it over into like a singing voice.
So in other words, Maleko and Flash, you guys don't have a chance to be good singers. So that's what I.
Mostly Flash.
That's what I got.
Well,
out of
I'm
that.
finishing my doctorate degree this year. I'm getting a PhD in music. And
Wow.
my dissertation is on tone deafness. So I study with
Oh, there you go, Flash.
Heyo.
There's hope for you yet.
So I study with a Japanese professor, and he believes in his method, which is called the Yuba method, that everybody can sing. So he uses a type of warm-up that stretches your vocal cord muscle, and it gets you warmed up like that. It's almost like muscle confusion.
I mean, everyone can sing. Doesn't mean that you're a good singer.
It's more
Doesn't
about,
mean you have,
You just shouldn't.
pitch. Yeah, sure, but we can all go knock out a karaoke tune when we're drunk.
Yeah.
So wait, so on the same page, so why does everyone sound better in the shower? That is true.
That is true.
acoustics. Yeah. So in
So
any
you're saying
room-
on these mics, we will all sound
Oh yeah.
fairly.
So
Oh, yeah.
acoustically, like if you're in the shower, you're definitely bouncing off a lot of
Yeah.
walls. So in a room that has carpet, it soaks up your sound. So a lot of times when you sing, it doesn't sound amazing, but you sing in a hallway or you sing in a chapel, like it's amazing because a lot of your sound is now echoing, coming back to you, so that you
The
know.
reverb.
You are
technical
so
term.
smart. You are so
Why
smart.
are you looking at her when you talk to me?
No, I'm just, I mean, I knew you were smart, but it's like the more you talk and the more we discuss there's so many issues that we discussed today, and I feel like you've got so much to offer people, and so it was just every time,
Someone has a crush.
Every time we do an interview with you, I
All two
absolutely-
times? All two times?
No, well, that's just both times I have come out of the interview having much more admiration for you than I started. And, I just got to say, you really present yourself well, and the fact that you have so much to offer people, I hope that people get to see that.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Toast to that.
Wow, you gotta try to
you.
convince
Well,
Lauren to vote for her,
it's
or
rare, it's rare that I'm in a room with people, that are intelligent, particularly because I spent so much time with you.
Sorry,
Foss,
Flash.
so it's just-
no, I let him have it. I knew it was coming.
Such an
Yeah, it's
idiot
fine.
sometimes.
Yep. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Only sometimes.
Most of the time.
That's coming from you. That's a compliment.
In fact, a lot of people listening to this show are like, "Wow, this show is not stupid anymore. Suddenly, it's just smarter."
Yeah.
It's great. Shout out to your mom.
What?
By the way, my mom is coming into town.
Really?
Yeah.
We got to get her on the show.
It's so
Can
funny.
we do that? Do you think she'd come on the show?
But once again,
If she
if
comes
she
on the
comes
show-
on the show, we have no listeners.
That's because she's the only listener.
My
This
mom is the
running
only
joke.
listener on the show.
Flash's mom is the only person who
So
listens.
she's actually
Thank
not
you,
allowed
Flash's
to come
mom.
on the show because then we will literally have no listeners.
Well, we'll just make sure she listens on the way home. That'll be fun. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today, Andrea.
Yes,
Appreciate you
thank
being
you.
here. It was great talking with you. When your campaign is on, you've announced already. You
Yes.
filed papers. You're ready
I filed
to go.
papers.
And so,
Look at you with
what's next
journalist
for you? What's
questions.
going on?
Well, I mean, we have fundraisers coming up. Hopefully, we'll get some mailers and banners and signs up within the next month or so. And I'm just interested in continuing learning. Like, am I going to run for governor again? Heck, yes.
Oh wow, you're
Oh, yes.
public
Oh, yes.
on record for that. Sorry, I was just shocked that you said that
Oh, no, I'm
Out
not afraid to say that.
loud publicly.
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid to say it. I've said it on the news a couple times. But I have told my team that there are certain markers I'm looking for. Because if we're jumping in this race, I'm going to win it. So I need us to be to the point where I feel like we can.
So what would those markers be?
Oh, the amount of money that I can raise.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, I mean, $500,000, that's a lot of money, but I literally only ran 4 commercials. It was $12,000 to run 4 30-second commercials.
Damn you, iHeartRadio rates.
So expensive.
Oh, no,
so
I
expensive.
cried when I saw it on TV. Oh, my
Yeah, skip
gosh.
radio. Just spend it on Instagram. Better money there.
Oh, my gosh.
Better money.
Better
And-
reach
and-
out.
and talk to
Younger
Andrew.
audience.
Andrew can
Yeah.
get you into people's DMs.
Andrew's got an app for that. Don't worry.
Yeah, hook it up. So the money that I raise, I think also like the grassroots reach, our teams on the neighbor islands as well as here are getting stronger and stronger. I mean, hopefully the amount of events we throw and the amount of people we can kind of bring in.
Lots of fun events coming up.
Yeah. And I would say also getting a few unions on board. A lot of them were definitely scared to approach me.
And these are the unions you said are the guys that have the hardest time with your being a woman
Being
and your age, probably.
No, I would say that and probably being Republican. So I did cast a vote against the GE tax extension, the one that paid for the rail and taxed everyone in the whole state.
No, I don't know because
Yeah.
Caldwell keeps asking for more money.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's.
because
So
we'll never have
the
enough.
rail is not ever going to be paid for.
You know what?
Ever.
Rail was going to be on time and on budget, but coronavirus. So it's just like it's just going to be so
Yeah.
much later now.
So
Yeah.
much later.
So much later because coronavirus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I think, definitely getting a few of them on board because I feel like one of the things they bring to the table is not only like a grassroots support, but really just making sure that there are large groups that also resonate, that I believe in the things they believe in. And the most important thing for many people is a better lieutenant governor candidate, which I am looking for. So
All right.
those are the
Andria
markers.
Tupola, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming in.
Governor.
Hello, Governor.
So how can we follow that progress on social media? Where do we go?
My handle is Vote Tupola. So you can follow me on Instagram. We have a Facebook page, Andria Tupola Giving Hawaii Hope. And you can also come out to our events. I'll be at the MMA Trinity Sport Combat Fight this Saturday at the Hawaii Convention Center.
Damn, who's fighting?
Her.
No, but guess whose logo's in the octagon? Boom, boom, boom. So definitely supporting local events. You can find us. We have a fundraiser coming up on March 21st at 604 Beach House in Waianae. It's beautiful. So come out.
Shout out to Julie, Donovan, and the whole 604 crew. They are wild.
Yeah, fun times, guys.
They
March
are
21st.
wild.
You guys can come out. We're gonna have a great time, and you get to meet me. So
Andrew,
Yes.
how do we follow you?
Oh, I have a very long
I mean, we know you're
first
already
and last
following
name.
us. You and
Yeah.
Putin.
Yeah.
You guys are already keeping tabs on us.
Oh,
How do we
no.
follow
It's
you?
at Russian hacker.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, it's not gonna pick up. It's my full name. It's Andrew Kalantarov. I usually just post my art, my video, my short video kind of. I also do advertisement for small brands and bars.
Okay.
Again, I just got here from New York a couple months ago.
And you're illustrating your cocktail book yourself,
Yes,
right?
everything is self-made. Everything is self-illustrated. I'm looking for. I have a couple of publishers that I'm talking to. Nothing is signed yet, so I'm still in that process. But it should be out within like 3 months.
What's your IG?
Andrew Kalantarov, Kal as in Larry, An as in Nick,
Got it.
TAR.
You should
guy's-
just change it to like Andrew Vodka.
This guy speaks perfect English when he wants to, by the way. You notice that?
Yeah, I did.
Like
I did.
Larry?
Yeah.
Like Larry?
I've been here for a very long time, sir.
But when he talks about hacking, then it goes into the
I've been
Russian.
here for
yeah.
24 years. About a little more than that.
Yeah. So what's your obviously Shorefire has their signature cocktails. What's your favorite cocktail personally to drink and to make?
I 100% same thing that you ordered last Saturday. What'd you order? Remember? Old fashioned.
What is it? He
I
ordered
barely
everything.
remember, but
He
yeah.
ordered everything.
All the stuff.
Old fashioned. So I'm very classical. I don't like the new. I don't like sugar. I mean, old fashioned is sweet, but I put a little less sugar in it. I like the flame of the zest of the orange that goes into it. I love bourbon. I'm definitely a dark liquor.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I love the bourbon.
Maleko, should we leave?
Yeah, we're gonna leave. Let
Guys,
them
give us a
continue
couple
this
of-
conversation.
Yeah, and I just appreciate that, like that whole style, and the making it is very beautiful as well from the other side of the perspective of the bar.
Yeah. Oh,
Which is why we're all there. It's not the drink, to be completely honest. It's the show and it's the fucking. I'm so sorry.
That's twice. It's twice, Andrew.
I'm never coming back again. No, no, I'm just kidding. It's the entertainment that you're there for and the relationship you make with the guests that you're there. So the drink is just a bonus again.
That's my favorite part. But yeah, sure. Yeah.
Once after like 5, like you just said, you know.
So next week we are doing a special coronavirus podcast episode.
Right. We've actually we've invited the lieutenant governor to join us.
We're not. He may or may not be coming. He's interested.
Yeah, so
but he's
gonna try
kind
and
of
get
hard
him
to
in.
commit.
We're going to
because
try and
he's
get
got-
a doctor in. We're going to get somebody from a senior living facility in. We got Shelley Wilson.
Shelley Wilson yep.
on the line. So we're going to try and get a whole team together. And
we're going to be
make
like
this happen.
breaking news. We're actually going
gonna try.
to be have
That
a
is-
podcast where we don't act like a couple of idiots for once. And
No
we,
alcohol.
I thought that's what this show was. I thought that was what this was.
This may have been our most serious episode ever, but next week I don't know, might even be more serious. But I'm
knows?
still going to drink a lot.
Who knows?
You guys want champagne?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, please.
If you like the show, go and subscribe at MalekoandFlash.com. We've got links there for all of the most popular podcasting apps in the world. We invite you to leave us a comment and a rating on your favorite podcast app, whether it be on iTunes or if you're on Google Android. Just leave us a comment, leave us some stars, and just tell people what you really think of the show. That way you can help other people know.
This show sucks. How does the voicemail thing work? I'm still a little confused.
Yeah, in
on
fact,
that.
at the beginning of this episode, you heard a voicemail from Angela, who's one of our podcast fans. You can
Our
do that
biggest
too.
fan, actually.
Just go to MalekoandFlash.com, click on the voicemail app or voicemail link, and you can just right there. It'll open right on your phone, and it'll record a quick message for us, and we'll put that in the next show.
That is so cool. And by the way, we live streamed today's podcast. It's the second time we've done that. And after the live stream is over, you can still go back. It's going to live on the interwebs in perpetuity.
Yeah.
You can go to go to YouTube and then
No, just go to MalekoandFlash.com.
there
It'll
you
be
go.
linked right there.
Yeah, perfect. Even better.
That's it. That's how the
That's
internet
like you know
works.
what you're doing.
Yeah, weird.
Weird.
Leave the internet stuff to me, Flash.
I leave everything to you,
Okay.
except the drinking. That is it. We are out.
Thank you.